We weren't supposed to be here. The morgue had been sealed for decades, completely forgotten by time. But when we managed to break in, we found something. Something that was never meant to be discovered. Something that changed everything. The air inside was thick and musty, as if it had been locked away for years. The smell of rot clung to everything, choking the very breath from our lungs. As we stepped forward, our footsteps echoed loudly in the silence, amplifying the eerie emptiness of the place. The flickering lights cast long, twisted shadows on the cracked walls, making us feel like eyes were watching us from the darkness. Every sound seemed magnified, like the morgue itself was alive, breathing in the silence, waiting. Imagine walking into a place that's been forgotten by time, sealed off for reasons no one dares to speak about. The morgue had been closed for over 30 years, yet its secrets remained hidden beneath layers of dust and cobwebs, waiting for someone to uncover them. As we ventured deeper, we found something unexpected, an old yellowed file tucked away in a forgotten corner. The words on the front, "Confidential," sent a chill down our spines. Inside the file, we uncovered a disturbing history. There were rumors of strange experiments conducted on patients, whispers about people who were never reported as dead. What had truly gone on behind these walls? Who were the people whose bodies never made it into official records? The more we read, the more questions piled up, each answer darker than the last. What really happened in this morgue? And why had it been sealed off for so long? As we pushed deeper into the morgue, every corner felt like it was hiding more secrets, more dangers waiting to be uncovered. At the end of a long, dimly lit hallway, we saw an old wooden door. It creaked loudly as we pushed it open, revealing a room that should not have existed. Inside, we found something we weren't prepared for. A pile of bones, wrapped in tattered cloth. At first glance, it looked like a simple skeleton, but there was something wrong, something off. The bones were unnervingly well preserved, as if they had been carefully kept from decay for decades. We thought for a moment that it was just a victim of time, a forgotten soul left behind in the morgue. But as we stepped closer, a cold wave of unease washed over us. The bones, they weren't just lying there. They were arranged in a pattern, almost like the body had been trying to escape, as if it was alive when it was placed there. The limbs twisted in unnatural ways, and the skull seemed turned towards the door. It was as though the person had been reaching for something, trying to claw their way out. The room grew eerily cold. Our breath fogged in the air, and we felt the walls closing in on us, suffocating us with a sense of dread. That's when we heard it. Soft, barely audible whispers. At first, we thought it was just our minds playing tricks, the quiet hum of our own fear taking shape. But no, the whispers grew louder. They sounded like words, like someone was watching us. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. We weren't alone. Our hearts pounded in our chests, but we couldn't tear ourselves away from the scene. Every inch of the room felt alive, like the bones were speaking to us, telling a story that we weren't meant to hear. What had happened here? Were these the remains of a victim, or something far darker? As the whispers continued, it felt like the morgue itself was trying to tell us something we weren't ready to understand. As we continued searching the morgue, the sense of dread grew stronger. But just when we thought we had uncovered everything there was to find, something unimaginable happened. We discovered a hidden room, tucked away behind the morgue's crumbling walls. It wasn't just an old storage space, it was a dark, secret chamber that had been completely sealed off, just like the rest of the morgue. The door creaked open, and we stepped inside. What we saw left us breathless. The room was filled with more bodies, but these weren't just any bodies. They were perfectly preserved, like the ones we had seen earlier. Bones arranged in odd, unsettling positions. But it wasn't just the state of preservation that chilled us to the core. It was the expressions frozen on their faces, twisted in terror, their eyes wide open as though they had died in complete fear. We took a step closer, but then something caught our eye. The bodies, they weren't from patients. They weren't from anyone who should have been here. As we examined the faces more closely, a horrifying realization hit us. These were people, local residents, who had gone missing over the years, their disappearances that no one could explain. They had vanished without a trace, and yet here they were, trapped in this morgue, their remains preserved for decades. It was then that the truth hit us like a ton of bricks. This morgue, this place we thought was just a forgotten relic of the past, had something to do with those disappearances. What if the morgue wasn't just a place to store bodies? What if it had been involved in something far more sinister? Were the people here victims of dark, unspoken experiments? Or had they been brought here to hide the evidence of something far worse? The questions flooded our minds. The answers were lost in time, buried beneath layers of fear and secrecy. But one thing was clear. The morgue wasn't just a place where the dead were kept. It was a place where secrets were hidden. Secrets that no one was ever meant to uncover. What had really been happening here all these years? And what happened to the people who disappeared? The horror of it all was too much to comprehend, but it was clear we had just scratched the surface of something far more terrifying. As we scrambled to leave the morgue, our hearts racing, we knew we had to get out before someone found us. But as we walked out of that eerie place, there was a lingering sense that something wasn't right. Something was still watching us, following us, even as we escaped. Later that night, we reviewed the footage from our cameras, trying to make sense of everything we had seen. But as we fast-forwarded through the footage, something caught our attention. A shadow standing right behind us. At first, we thought it was just a trick of the light, but when we looked closer, we froze. It wasn't just any shadow. It was the silhouette of a person we didn't see while we were in the morgue. But here it was, clear as day, standing silently in the background. And that's when the true horror hit us. The figure. It looked exactly like one of the people who had been reported missing from the town. We froze, staring at the screen. Had we just seen the ghost of one of the victims? Or had they somehow come back? We can't explain it. We don't know who or what it was. But one thing is certain. We're not alone. And whatever was in that morgue, it's still out there, watching, waiting. We left that place, but it seems like it may not have left us.